Hello, this is Clare Dubois with session 6 of the 1 Million Tree Campaign live series that I'm doing. And so today I'm going to share probably the strongest story in terms of the advent of TreeSisters, the creation of TreeSisters. But I want to share it in a different way, because it's not just an invitation to me in that moment when I was given the job, as it were, from life. I want to talk about how our fears can be signposts to our creativity, to our brilliance, and the part of us that knows exactly what we're capable of. And yet we find ourselves more often than not holding back from those things that pull us forward. Before I go there, I just want to let you know that we are getting very close to the 500,000 trees a year point. We're just under 40,000 trees a month. So for all of you, again, who came on yesterday and overnight as TreeSisters, as women willing to make a stand for the trees, thank you so much for becoming TreeSisters. It's extraordinary watching this count go up every day and realizing that we're not looking at money, we're looking at life. We're looking at trees, we're looking at leaves, we're looking at biodiversity, butterflies and monkeys and pumas and jaguars and ocelots and so many extraordinary beings, and we're looking at lives changed, and that's happening because of you. So thank you. So how many of us have had those extraordinary moments in life when an idea lands on us and we sort of like, oh my God, that would be amazing. I could do that, and I'd do it like this, and I'd do it with these people, and this is how it would happen, and this is how it would be. And we fill up, it's like this balloon building up with joy, because it's as if our soul has managed to create a gap between our limited perceptions of ourselves and shone a bit of our true iridescence, our true light. And when we touch that true iridescence and light, for a minute there, it's pure possibility and pure invitation and pure joy. And we can float on it, we can live into the imaginings of that extraordinary version of ourselves that we could be, that actually in that moment makes total sense of who we are. Until we get just a little bit too big, or just a little bit too joyful, or just a little bit too something, and we hit the edges of our comfort zones, and the parts of us that go, well, actually, have you thought about, and well, really, could you do that, and well, what if it went wrong? You know, then what would people say? Or, you know, if you tried and then this happened, then how would you feel? And it's almost as if we start putting pins in our own balloon and we start deflating, and then it's like, oh yeah, gosh, I really was thinking a bit too much of myself in that moment. Or, oh yes, you know, whatever the stories are we tell ourselves that have us go, actually, maybe not, better stay safe, much better to stay where I am, but I can dream about it and I can feel good when I dream about it. Many people don't do that. Many people do pick up their dreams and run with them, but you know, many of us sit on them. There are so many that I've sat on. I just wonder about the actual vast reservoir of creative potential that's sitting out there, just sat on, literally, and where we would be if there was no such thing as perceived failure. And that's what I want to talk about, because that was the invitation that I got from life, and if I hadn't got that invitation from life, there's no way I would be trying this experiment right now, which scares the crap out of me every time I do it, but I'll do it because I've been taught so strongly there is no such thing as failure. So yesterday I talked in session 5 about Project Green Hands and how Project Green Hands pointed me towards the trees and gave me this 7-step or 7-point social strategy that I was then going to see who I could pass it off to in the Western world to see if we could start a major tree campaign. Those points being, think big, be audacious, educate, make sure everybody understands the logic of what you're doing, base it in relationships so that everybody's hearts are fully engaged and you're creating community around what you're doing, level the playing field, help everybody understand that we're all in this together. Get your hands dirty, make it real, grow life yourself, build your relationship with nature, create collective ownership, have it like place this into everybody's lap and say this belongs to all of us, and then celebrate like mad. So those were the 7 points. And 3 days after finally thinking, wow, I've got it. That is the social strategy. That's why Project Green Hands is succeeding in India. And wow, let's do it here now. I got in the car early, woke up late. My alarm didn't go off. I was supposed to be going to London for a meeting for the economics of ecosystems and biodiversity to become part of a communications group. And I was going to present my 7 points and say, here we are, this is what we should do. And instead of getting to London, I crashed the car. So I was not even 2 minutes from home on a very steep road. It was November, it was icy. I put the brakes on, going down a hill on a very sharp corner, hit black ice and started swerving all over the road. And I banged one side of the road, and then I banged another side of the road, and then I banged that side of the road again. And all of this was not actually happening terribly fast, but it was one of those terrifying moments where, in effect, what I really think happened was life got me out of the way, so that when I had the crash, I was so open and vulnerable in complete fear that the message just went straight in. Gosh, it makes me want to cry, and I haven't even got to the bit about the crash. So I got stopped by a tree, and I say I got stopped by a tree because if I hadn't got stopped by the tree, the road went straight off a really steep edge and down a hill. I would have gone straight off the road and badly crashed. But I ran into this tree. And at the point of hitting the tree, there was a blinding flash of white light in the car, and inside the light were 2 words: the experiment. And so I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, I've just written off the car I knew I had, and looking at these 2 words, the experiment, and, you know, what is going on? And this voice started talking to me, and this voice was so loud, it was literally like it was sitting in the car with me, and funnily enough, it was male. And it just said, ooh, here I go. Sorry. Humanity is running out of time, but it's not over yet. It's going to take all of you rising to the challenge to get through what's coming. The single greatest fear facing humanity is fear of failure. But you can get over fear of failure by calling everything you do an experiment, because you can't fail an experiment. You can only learn. And even in that moment where I was holding onto my neck and I was in complete disarray, it landed. You can't fail an experiment. You could only learn. And I was like, wow, that's brilliant. That's like a message for life. And I said, what's the experiment? And back came, you have to reforest the tropics in 10 years. Now that was the point that my life flashed completely before my eyes. It was one of those moments where, I don't know whether it was because the tuning fork of my being was rung so loudly and this was already encoded in me and just came up, or, you know, the wholeness of the vision that I was just being given was landed in my lap, and I instinctively got everything that it meant, because in that moment I knew that I would have to create a charity and I didn't know how. I knew I was going to have to build a team and I didn't know how. I knew I was going to have to come out front and be a front person and I didn't know how. I was a loner. I was somebody that worked from home because I was totally socially inept. I was going to have to learn accounting. I was going to have to get on a computer. I was going to have to learn social media. And in that moment, it was all just landing on me. And it was just like, no, no, I can't do this. There's nothing about this that I can do. And simultaneously, there was this understanding, like my mind was going ... all the Facebook lives I've done over this last week were these huge stepping stones in my life, which in that moment, I could see they were stepping stones. I could see that life had been preparing me for this moment. And so it was like, wow, I've spent the last 3 years of my life saying, I know I'm for something, I want to do something, and tell me what it is, tell me what it is. And in this car crash, it was like, well, here it is. You've got to reforest the tropics within 10 years. And you can't sort of go, well, actually, I didn't really mean it. I just don't think I can do that. You got the wrong person, terribly sorry. It was like I felt I'd set myself up and life had set me up, and it was terrifying, harrowing, horrifying, hollowing, because I felt like life was saying, we believe in you so much more than you believe in yourself. Now, are you going to get over yourself and have a go? And everything in me was saying no. Everything in me was saying no. That's what I wonder about so many of us. How many of us are given profound gifts of ideas and visions and creations that, if we stepped into them, are actually the perfectly created, choreographed gateway back to ourselves that our souls know we need to experience our fullness, but we just go, oh, it's going to mean I'm going to have to cross over all my comfort zones. And for me, it felt like I'm going to have to literally become someone else. Like I'm going to have to recreate myself from the inside out to become the person that can even have a go at this. I felt all my ineptitudes piling in on top of me, all my inadequacies, all my insecurities, and they were all screaming at once. And underneath them was this voice saying, what if this is what you're supposed to do? What if you could be this person that life thinks you can be? It moves me to tears because it's been so extraordinarily hard. It's been so hard to get over the fears and the personal limitations and the, oh my God, I can't do it and I've got it wrong again and again and again. And at the same time, it's also been so extraordinarily beautiful to cross over my limitations and just to have a go and to be walking permission for other people and see what's possible and discover what I can do and get over myself again and again when my team turn around and say, Claire, it's an experiment. You cannot fail. This is learning. You know, what we're doing is learning. But we've been taught so much to be ashamed if it doesn't look a certain way. You know, that car crash was in very late 2009, and I was told you've got 10 years to reforest the tropics. 2009, that's 7 years ago. I feel like I've only just started. Took me a year to even pluck up the courage to say yes. Then it took me another year to find the first remnants of a team, and another year to even register as a charity. And all the time it's like those voices of failure can start screaming, and we can only go as fast as we can go, and we need so much more compassion for ourselves. So I got out of the car, still going, wow, you know, the experiment, no, I'm not going to do it. And the voice continued. And I don't have this as accurately as the first bit. The first bit like sort of emblazoned itself on my soul and I'll never forget a single word of it. But what came next was, this is as good as I can give you of it. You have to mobilize the women. Women are the missing piece. Women are the womb carriers, and earth is womb. Women understand the cycles of birth and death, of rest and doing. Women are naturally oriented to bring any system into health and well-being. Women are the feelers, the creators, the protectors. Women understand life in a way that would enable us to follow the ebb and flows of the seasons, because they happen in our wombs every month. I was shown how the history of what's happened to women in our subjugation and controlling and dismissal and devaluing and being told that we are this or we have to be that, that whole way that we've been treated is so similar to how nature has been treated. That women deeply would understand what's happened to nature as a mother, as a beingness horrendously taken for granted and just taken from and taken from and taken from all the time. And that if I could elicit the part of womankind that was built to feel and relate and deeply plug into the truth of the circumstance that we're in, which is, it is not appropriate to take your mother for granted. It is not sensible, it is not healthy, it is not loving, it is not evolved, it is not developed to take your mother for granted, to trash your world so that the future generations have no chance whatsoever, because that's where you're going. It's not appropriate to live in a world where the feminine principle is considered less. It's not appropriate to live in a world where women are still treated like property and animals, and so much of it to be done to whatever should be done to them, when they are the creators of life. And this was ringing through my system. the truth of it ringing through my system. And simultaneously it was being, I could feel myself going, yes, I get it, oh my God, yes, I get it, oh my God. And then all my insecurities slapping up and saying, no, but I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it, don't ask me to do it. And because my story is as one of those women that's been trashed and stepped on and told that I'm nothing and treated as nothing. And so it was also simultaneously I was realizing that I was being told to call the women. And it was just like, don't ask me to call the woman. I don't even understand what it means to be a woman, let alone call the women. It was like, that's even a step beyond. Reforest the Tropics was big enough, but gather the women? You've got to be joking. It's like, it's preposterous. And yet, here I am calling for the women, because in my deeper self, I know how strong I am and what it's taken for me to recover from my life to be able to step forward. I know how brilliant and extraordinary womankind is, and how many of us are carrying so much baggage that stops us from bringing our gifts forward. And those gifts, that reservoir of love that we are, that extraordinary power that we are, and creativity and capacity for togetherness and orientation to collaboration and co-creation rather than dominance over everything, it's needed now more than ever. And I got it. I got it in that moment. And I still said no. I said no for another 9 months. Probably mostly because of my fear of actually doing something for women. The trees thing was terrifying and I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I had the map from Project Green Hands. The woman thing, it was asking me to stick my head up above the parapet. It was asking me to show my face and to take a stand. That in itself was absolutely alien for my nervous system. But then even worse than that, it was asking me to celebrate women. It was asking me to say, there is a uniqueness to womankind that has extreme value and is needed now. And what would the men say? What would the men say? As soon as you say there is an extraordinary value to women, so many of the men turn around and say, well, what about us? That's sexist, that's this, that's the other. And it was like, I couldn't face putting myself in a situation where I was going to get slammed by the men. Again, I couldn't face it. But then, nor could I face being slammed by the women. Because what if you come out on behalf of women and say, our collective wound that we have around fear of visibility and fear of being too much and, fear of being abandoned by our men if we try and take a stand for ourselves, which so many of us suffer from. I know people don't, and so I'm not blanketing all women in this way, but a lot of us have these issues. How was I to face my fear of the women who also say, why are you doing something just for the women? Because we don't want to be singled out, because we don't want the potential of attack coming either. And that fear, I didn't know what I was more afraid of, fear of the men or fear of the women or fear of my own failure or fear of the whole damn lot, And then what is all of that in relationship to we're losing our forests, we're going to go straight past 2 degrees centigrade if we're not careful. There will be no future for our children. There will be no future for our children, or at least the future that we're giving them is terrifying. And we're right on that cusp right now. So it's taken me this long to get to this first Million Tree campaign right now, where I'm saying to the women, come on, we are needed. We're needed in such a way that has never been seen before. Nina Simons in the Feminine Awakening talk that I did with her a few weeks ago, that if you go to the Feminine Awakening series, you'll see it. The first thing she talked about was the witch burnings. The first thing she talked about was how what has happened to womankind has left such profound emotional scarring that means that we dampen ourselves down as a way of life. And how do we start to lift through the fears and conditioning that we've got to just own our brilliance and our magnificence and our power and our potency? And I really got in that moment, the last time womankind was unleashed and fully in our power, we were burnt. We were burnt and subjugated in such a way as to say, don't ever consider yourself worthy of leadership or power in this life. Our nature connectedness was severed at that time, and our connection to ourselves. What I'm aware of now, and what the crash told me, was if womankind does not step up with our gifts in our fullness yet again to help turn this world around, our world will burn. Our future will burn. The Amazon will burn, and if the Amazon burns, we lose our reign. We can't let it happen. Oh, I wish I could do this without being so emotional. So it is my deepest call. You know, I said yes, I gathered the team, and here we are, and we will carry on exploring and experimenting and trying everything that we can, and inviting you to experiment and inviting us all to figure out how do we bring our gifts forward on behalf of life as the creators and healers and wise women and water carriers and water women and everything that we are. Tree sisters, sisters of the tree, sisters of each other, sisters holding space for each other to bring our energy forward, our gifts forward, our power forward, so that we can stop being so afraid of what we are, because we are so needed. So one of the things that people don't know is TreeSisters wasn't the only project that I was given in that car crash. I was given 2 others. One of them I think I'm going to talk to you about on Sunday. It's not so much a project, it was a cartoon. I was given an entire visual way of understanding what's happening with us in the forest and the carbon, and I think I will tell you about that on Sunday. For now, I want to tell you about a few things that are coming up next week, well, starting tomorrow actually, which are amazing through TreeSisters. And in this moment, just so clearly from my heart to you, please become a Tree Sister. Please become a Tree Sister today, in this moment. If this touches you, if you can feel it, if you can feel the trees, if you can feel your longing for a sisterhood within which we will be calling you forth, within which we will be gifting you continually, offerings to help you tap back into your power as a woman and bring it to the world, please step in. It's 1 Million Trees campaign. It's at the top of this page. If you go to the TreeSisters website, just go to the join page. Please give as much as you can and help us go way past 500,000 trees a year, up to the 1 million trees a year, which we're trying to do by Thursday of next week. And we can do it if all of us start sharing this and spreading the word. Oh, okay, so tomorrow, as part of the Feminine Awakening series, I am interviewing 2 extraordinary women who are sisters, Barbara Marks Hubbard and Patricia Ellsberg. Barbara, who is doing conscious evolution for the world, and Patricia, who is a spiritual teacher extraordinaire. 2 brilliantly gutsy women coming together to really explore what sisterhood means as a pathway to power. On Monday, those of you that don't know, that every month I run a full moon meditation for everyone. It's just free and an offering as part of TreeSisters gifting back to help us come into rhythm with life and rhythm with the moon. This is called the Creatress. This is a chance for all of us to step into our pure potential, drop what we're not, and start weaving the reality within which we can bring forward this world that is green and leafy and healthy for our children. So please join me for the Creatress. You can find that on the TreeSisters events page. And then, I've got a runny nose, and then on Thursday of next week, as we complete the Feminine Awakening series, we're going to be doing Dance into Power, where I am going to take all of you that come through an initiation into the sacred geometry at the heart of TreeSisters, through your bodies, an embodied movement, a dance of power, which you will have to experience to understand what I'm talking about, to seed this powerful invitation of TreeSisters into your body. So please join us, please join us for the trees, for our children, for our future, for your heart, for your sanity, for your creativity, for everything that we are together. And please share this video, share this story, get it out there. Please help me be the invitation on behalf of life. Thank you.